Welcome back, Global War 1939. We just finished off round 12, and this last turn, a lot of good things, a lot of bad things happen depending on your point of view, depending on which side you are on. So let's take a look here. Germany, my goodness, things fell apart extremely quickly. As you can tell, Western Germany and Bavaria are now under Allied control. The British had a slew of troops here in Reims, moved over to Western Germany, and they utilized their transports and their infantry in their home island to attack, blitzing through Bavaria and the Netherlands, using their armor, and attacked, wiping out any German defense that they had in their home country. Things are looking extremely dire at this point. So the situation is really, in Berlin, they have 2 medium bombers. They do have 5 armor and an SS mechanized within range to get there on this turn, and of course produce 10 units. So it's a total of 16 plus 2 bombers that they can mount for defense. What the British have right now in Western Germany, they have about 5 armor, 2 heavy artillery, and 2 of their more advanced tanks. After the British went in, the British did take heavy losses, lost all their infantry that they carried over, and a few other pieces, but they did rely on their Air Force to help out with that battle. The AA gun did not take out any aircraft. And then, of course, the Americans went in and on their turn just to fortify, to prevent any kind of German counterattack. Not that there would be much to counterattack anyways. 2 tanks and an SS mechanized, 2 bombers. That's got to get reduced, so we'll fix that up. So now moving forward for the British, ever since the Normandy attacks into Reims, now Western Germany, the British have been pretty lucky that all these territories are on the coastline, so they would roll in with their tanks, heavy artillery, and refortify with additional troops, so they didn't have to wait for the infantry to catch up and to give Germany another buy time. They've just been relentlessly, turn after turn, advancing and moving that post. Now, they face a new tactic, as Berlin is not on the coast, so they can't utilize any fresh troops that they just purchased. So what their plan is, they're going to do kind of like a can opener effect. The British will go in with just the armored heavy artillery. They will lose that battle, I have no doubt. But then on the Americans, before the Germans can react, they have 8 medium armor, 3 light armor, and 16 infantry, 2 Marines. So they'll just be able to walk in and clean up. I suspect one more turn, and then we're done. Or the Germans, at least. The Japanese, I don't think anyone's taking on the Japanese. For the Italians, they finally got their fleet out of the Mediterranean. They were probably 3 turns too late on taking Gibraltar. Even though the British did lose in Africa, Cairo did fall, but they did a really good job in delaying the Italians from opening up their access point out to the Atlantic. The first attempt on Cairo really set the Italians back quite a number of turns. Even though they're clearly winning in Africa now, is just took too long to clean up the British. For the Russians in the east, the Russians did pull back. The Germans did fortify Moscow, so making an attempt. Now, if there was only 3 infantry there, of course they would attack and recapture their capital. But they're the I, I can't see the Germans or the Russians clearing out Moscow, so they just went back to fortify Stalingrad, make the Germans come to them. A little more success up in the completely freed up Finland, and now 2 turns until all of Scandinavia, and the activation of Sweden is underway, but I don't think the Germans have 2 turns. The Canadians did come over. Usually what they've been doing is just landing troops in France. This time they decided to come up to Scotland, and they're going to fortify Oslo. So we got 3 Canadian infantry and medium tanks. And the Americans just sent over another shipment of infantry or heavy artillery. The shipment before just moved up to border the Italians. So the plan, or the thinking about which direction to go, clearly the Allies went north, and they're just going to hold the Italians in place. Italy does have 2 of their elite infantry, 3 medium tanks, and close to 30 infantry. As they did go on a defensive mindset, so they don't really have a lot of punching power. I think they have no choice but to attack us regardless. So they'll go with 5 tanks, a bomber, and a slew of infantry. They may win this, probably will, but that will dwindle their forces down quite a bit, and then the Americans got a follow-up counterattack. The French didn't do anything. They just bought 3 more infantry, saved the rest of their income. They're going to try to upgrade that factory to a major. So probably realistically, Germany will fall next turn. We'll see. Like, weirder things have happened so far. Just like Cairo, I thought Cairo would fall in the first attempt, but it took two attempts. So Japan is now completely taken out FEC. They did have 2 infantry here. The Japanese decided to come up with only armor, and of course their fighters to take out those 2 infantry. But both FEC infantry did take a hit each. Not too bad, but there was nothing stopping Japan. There was no point in waiting for infantry to just come in, even if they lost a tank or 2. At this point, it doesn't matter. Italy did take out the money sections of Iran, 1 more territory, and then they'll get their bonus. For Japan, that secondary fleet they constructed is just on its way down. They are convoying 1 box, and they're just going to... Anzac does have 5 destroyers, but I think once Japan gets down here, this will probably be done. The Japanese did attack Pearl Harbor. Now, there was 2 aspects of this battle. There was the sea battle, which the Americans put up quite a fight. As you can tell by that saying, the Americans lost. The Japanese did lose a vast chunk of their escort vessels, all their destroyers. A good chunk of their cruisers are gone. They lost a bunch of their fighters and their escort carriers. All their battleships are of course damaged. So we want to pay attention to that. We don't want to repurchase them, so they're going to have to leave the coastline of Hawaii and get those repaired. So then the Japanese had 5 transports with 10 ground units to face off against the Americans on the soil of Hawaii. And look at that. The Americans survived with just 2 Marines. So the Japanese had overwhelming odds against the American fleet. I think most of us would have assumed by looking at the previous video, looking at the fleet sizes, most people would have put their money on the Japanese winning that battle, which they did. However, I did not suspect that the Americans would hold on, denying the Axis of Victory City. So right now the Axis are, now, of course, all they're going to do is come back, pick up more guys, make it a second attempt. It'll take, what, 4 turns total to get back. The Americans, I'm not sure if they have, they'll definitely be able to reinforce once they did purchase 5 more transports, 5 more infantry, so they'll load all this up and land there. Maybe they'll get 2 landings of infantry, maybe. But the Japanese will see it coming and they'll just drop 10 transports and then drop another 10 infantry. They'll come over with about 30 ground units. So I'm pretty sure on the second attempt, the Japanese will take Hawaii. As right now, the only warships they have a battleship, a cruiser, and 3 destroyers. Even if they put money into more battleships, carriers, there won't be enough time to take on this fleet in any meaningful way. So now they have to switch over to defending the land, buy as much infantry as possible to drop in there. They'll probably get 2 cargo loads, which is fine. But I think it's a little too late. The Japanese needed that island, that Victory City, now. So great job for the Americans of holding off, fighting pretty valiantly. So very, very interesting turn. All right, well, thank you for watching, and you have yourself a great day.